my brothers and sisters. Father Frank Pavone here, National Director of Priests for Life. Thank you for joining me. I'm coming to you from our Mother Angelica studios here in Titusville, Florida, at our world headquarters of Priests for Life. Well, tonight, after we do our opening prayer, I want to do with you something that I do every few days, and that is my daily diary segment to let you know what exactly I've been doing from morning to night over these last few days. So, let's start with prayer. My book is called Pro-Life Reflections for Every Day. And let's see what the reflection and quote are for today. From Psalm 147, verse 6, "The Lord sustains the poor, but humbles the wicked in the dust." Reflection. In 1941, German Cardinal Clemens von preached against the Nazi euthanasia program. He declared, quote, "These numerous cases of unexpected death in the case of the insane are not natural, but often deliberately caused, and result from the belief that it is lawful to take away life which is unworthy of being lived. Once admit the right to kill unproductive persons, then none of us can be sure of his life." End of quote. Prayer. Inspire your preachers, O Lord, with the courage that we see in Cardinal von Galen. Amen. Well, you can get a copy of this book at prolifereflectionsforeveryday.com. My daily diary segment. I do this, my friends, because I believe in accountability, transparency. So many of you support this ministry and support it generously, or else you're involved in our activities, and therefore I want you to know the fruit that your support is bearing. The things I do every day, and our team likewise is working so hard from day to day. But in particular, those of us in public life know that our lives are really not that private anymore. And I believe that there should be a real accountability that when we put ourselves forward to you as saying we're going to take on this cause of fighting the unborn, please help us to do it. And I'm always talking about the fact that I've devoted my entire life and ministry to ending abortion. Well, I want you to know how serious that is for me, and that I literally devote every waking moment, every waking hour to this cause of life. And I share with you what I do, neither out of bragging nor out of complaining, but simply out of the desire to inform and inspire, because I want you to know all the different things that we're involved in doing from day to day, all the different things our team is doing. And there's another motive too. All of us in public life know something very simple. Either you tell your own story or other people try to tell it for you. In other words, some people will try to put their own penmanship to some creative writing that they do out of their own imagination, talking about us and what we do and how we spend our time and how we spend our money. And so to provide from the horse's mouth, so to speak, the narrative of what I do each day, I like to give you these daily diary segments. And also it can show you who do support us, maybe you know about us but you don't support us, give you more motivation to do so and more excitement about what it is that is going on. So, what have I done the last few days? I gave you a daily diary segment on July 21st, Sunday night. These last 3 days have been office days. I've been here at our headquarters on Staten Island with my staff. And usually on these office days, I'm at my desk at about 5:30 in the morning and am there until after these nighttime broadcasts, which end sometimes at 9:30, sometimes at 10 o'clock. And some of the things that happened during these past few days. First of all, I've been preparing for the next meeting of the pro-life leaders, quarterly meetings that we coordinate in Washington, D.C. So I have to put together the agenda, and so spent some time doing that. In particular, looking for and communicating with leaders who can help these pro-life leaders understand and encourage the Hispanic vote in the upcoming elections. The Hispanic population is so important, and we want to encourage them to vote and to vote pro-life. And so we need guidance from within the Hispanic community in order to do that. And so I've been involved in speaking with some Hispanic leaders to come to our leaders meeting and give us that kind of guidance. The group communicates in between these meetings, and so I had some meetings dealing with improving the communication through the technology we have so that the leaders can talk with one another, share information. Now, speaking of leadership meetings, we are preparing, and I spent some time during these days having some meetings preparing to welcome a couple of dozen pro-life leaders right here to our office in the beginning part of August, and you'll be hearing and seeing on these broadcasts a lot more of that as we get closer. And so obviously I'm involved very much in communicating with the leaders who will be facilitating the discussions that we have when we're here so that we lay out joint strategies and promote and develop the unity of this movement. A lot of meetings I've had during these days have had to do with the elections. As you know, that is our top priority, and meeting with my administrative team, including a lengthy meeting today, planning out exactly what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, meeting with other leaders over the phone and through GoToMeeting, conference calls and emails, meeting with our data team, because what we are doing is running our data list against the voter files. We want to see who's registered to vote and who isn't, so that we can encourage those who aren't registered to get registered and, in fact, to vote. Presentations to different groups. I'll be speaking to different groups in the months ahead about the efforts that Priests for Life is making in the elections. And so I met today with some of our team to talk about how are we going to present that information. The various PowerPoints and videos have to be developed. I met with our research team. You know, this is the time of the election where we get certain key messages out there. So we need to research what are some of the things that the candidates are saying, and what are their policies, and how good or bad are those policies. And so our research team feeds me information that then we can feed into these broadcasts, into our op-eds, and into our talks. Met with our data team, again, like I said, also because in our data we're able to identify what congressional districts each person on our list lives in. And that's important because when we want to educate people about the congressional races, we can get information specifically into that congressional district by knowing what district you live in. Now, some of my meetings with leaders during these days also, again by telephone and email, have been to devise ways for the pro-life movement to thank the president for the pro-life progress he has made. If you follow this movement, you know at least some of the pro-life progress the president has made. I can almost guarantee you that you don't even know all of it because there's so much, it's hard for even us to keep track of it when we're doing this full time. But we're going to be thanking the president in various particular ways in the months to come, and I was involved in some meetings to devise ways of doing that. Obviously, each of these last 3 days I've been involved in giving daily broadcasts. We have our broadcast approximately 9 in the morning or whenever our morning briefing finishes. And now in the evening time at 9 o'clock also. And then, of course, preparing for these broadcasts, and this takes some time. Not only that, but then we take the broadcasts and then we transform them into podcasts. And so I work with my team, let them know which programs and which information we have to put into our podcast. Some of it goes into our radio broadcast. Some of it can even go into other TV broadcasts. And we work with our social media team to look at how we can boost some of these programs, get an even greater viewership on social media. And so all of this involves time with me communicating with the staff about those very things. Various other media opportunities during these days. I was on Teresa Tomeo this morning on her radio program. That's a regular weekly thing. I did some email interviews. Reporters sometimes will email me lists of questions. I responded to some of those today, and in the last couple of days wrote a couple of columns. For example, my regular column for Newsmax, which came out just the other day after I sent it in to them. And then I did some interviews right here in this studio in front of this camera by Skype, and you'll be seeing them soon. They just need to get some special effects put on them, some graphics and whatnot. But two great interviews, one with our longtime friend and colleague Mark Crutcher, president and founder of Life Dynamics. We did that interview yesterday. And then just this afternoon, sitting here in this chair, I taped an interview via Skype with our friend Tim Goeglein. He used to serve in the White House under President Bush in the Department of Public Liaison, and he has written a book called American Restoration, and we're going to be showing you that interview and promoting that book in the days to come. Then I had each day this week a media huddle, as we call it, with some of our key staff, including our social media developer and our communications director, and we talk about what are the key things that are going on in the news, and what do we need to know about, what do we need to be talking about, commenting about. We had a special meeting with evangelist Alveda King, together with her assistant and our communications director. Alveda, of course, as part of our team, does a lot of media. And so every once in a while we have to have a meeting together with her to figure out, how can we best promote those media segments? How can we get the best bang for the buck? How can we best equip the people who listen to Alveda with a deep awareness of the pro-life effort, of our efforts, and connect them with our ministry? So we had a planning meeting about that. I had various travel meetings during these days. What those are meetings where I meet with the folks on our team whose full-time job is just to receive the invitations that people send for me, for Alveda King, for Brian Kemper and Janet Morana and the other members of our team, people who receive these invitations here at our office, figure out whether we can accept the invitations. These would be invitations to speak in churches, at pregnancy center banquets, at pro-life conventions, at special rallies and prayer vigils. It's a full-time job for more than one person to sort through these details, and then once we accept a trip, to work out all the details of that trip. Before I go on a trip, one of these days, I don't have it with me now, I'll show you the detailed hour-by-hour schedule that I have in my hand before I even go to the airport to come into your communities. My team here prepares this hour-by-hour itinerary. Not a moment is unaccounted for on these trips. And it is a clear document that is agreed upon ahead of time. So when I go there, I don't have to be worrying about what am I going to do next. It's all planned out, and I can focus my energy on speaking to the people that I'm there to speak to, on listening to them, and encouraging them in the pro-life effort. So I had some of those travel meetings to figure out which invitations we're going to accept, which ones we can't, which ones we may have to reschedule. Then I had a number of meetings with our social media team. Social media, if you're an expert in this, if you follow it closely, you know that every day there are changes, every day there are improvements and updates, and we got to keep right on top of those things. Laura is asking, have you put your teaching on Lighthouse Media? Yes, Laura, in fact, we have, and I want to reconnect with them, actually, because we have done it in the past, and I think we need to get even more of our things into their circulation, because they were very much on the same page with the great work that they're doing. And I know that they appreciate the work we do too. So thank you for that reminder. See, these are some of the things we talk about in these meetings that I have with my communications team. Who are the different groups out there that we should be communicating with to get our material out there? Then another very happy thing I did today and also yesterday We are hiring here at Priests for Life. Our staff continues to expand because our work continues to expand. The opportunities God gives us continue to expand, and we want to respond to as many of them as we can. And so we interviewed 3 people that have applied that we hope to hire, 2 of them yesterday and 1 of them today, and for various departments here on our staff, and very good meetings. Of course, our personnel department has already interviewed these individuals, and yesterday and today they came in to have their interview with me and our executive director, Janet Morana, so that we could get to know them, answer their questions, and let them know more about what the expectations would be if they indeed have the good fortune of joining our staff. Our team, by the way, has a very strong family spirit. Our staff, whom you can read about on our website, are very happy to be here. We treat them very, very well, and we are so grateful for their talent, their expertise, their contributions to the pro-life effort. Then another thing I did was to give some preparation to our September newsletter. I have a team that suggests what we should put in that newsletter. They know the kind of things that I'm usually looking for to say in these newsletters. They gather some of the material that we have, some of the photos that we have. And I give them certain instructions, asking them to write articles on certain things. Some of the articles I write myself. It took some of that time to do that today. And I reviewed some of the things that they write because I do the final editing. By the way, these articles that go out, even the letters that go out to you in our mailings, I review every word of these letters to make sure that they accurately reflect what we are doing, what I am thinking, and what I want to convey to you. So the fact that we have a team helping me do that does not in any way diminish the fact that the message truly is coming from me, and I want to make sure that you hear what those things are in my mind. Had a conversation with one of our bishops today, or rather yesterday, and every once in a while we are communicating with the bishops that support our work, and what we do is we strategize with them as to how we can garner even more support among the hierarchy for the work that we do. Now, you might think that support is automatic. Well, of course they're going to support this pro-life work of the church. We're not doing anything except trying to end abortion. But you'll be surprised. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth. To try to get support from people who really should be supporting us, but unfortunately in some cases, well, you know this very well, in some cases they try to stand in the way of the good pro-life work that's being done not only by us but by so many other groups. So we deal with that, we navigate those waters, but we communicate with the bishops. Again, we're an open book to them just like we are to you. SEO, you know what SEO is, search engine optimization. We're always looking to improve our website. I gave various approvals over these recent days for upgrades and improvements in our website servers, and also meeting with our strategic team to increase our search engine optimization so that, in other words, when we put out good information that we want you to find, that it's easier for you to find it. Because if you go to Google and you're looking for information on, infanticide or abortions of babies who survive abortion, and you want to find information on all these different things that are in the news, well, we want the information we've put out there to jump to the top of the page. There's another interesting thing we've been developing just in these recent days. Again, I did some work on this. Called authoritative web pages. In other words, there are questions that certain people ask when they'll go to Google and they'll say, for example, there was a fake news story out there circulating that back in January when those students from Covington Catholic High School went to the March for Life, I don't have my hat here, they were wearing the MAGA hats, I have one, proudly wear it, and they were caught up in this media firestorm, falsely accusing them of mistreating this Native American man, where meanwhile he was the one causing the problem. But the interesting thing developed in the fake news that Father Frank, and I guess maybe it's because I've been on these broadcasts, wearing my MAGA hat, Father Frank gave the Covington high school students their MAGA hats. And I kind of chuckled to myself when I saw that, kind of thinking to myself, gee, I should have thought of that myself. I didn't give them the hats. I've never met them. I don't know them. But it's interesting how people weren't surmising that I might have given them the hats. They weren't asking me if I did give them the hats. They were out there telling the public that this, in fact, was true. Well, it wasn't true. So if people, and I don't know, the story got a lot of interest for whatever reason. So if people Google and they say, well, did Father Frank give the kids the MAGA hats? Bottom line is, we don't want somebody else answering that question. We're the authority. I'm the authority on whether or not I gave these kids the MAGA hats, and or sold them to them or whatever. And so we want to make sure. So we're doing, what I'm saying to you is, the kind of meetings we're having with our team, with our technical team, is how do we make sure that if you or someone else ask that question on Google, the answer that comes up first on the search results is the answer from the horse's mouth, is the answer from the people who have the authority to answer that question. And we're doing that now with a whole range of questions. It sort of goes back to what I was saying to you at the beginning, for the reason why I like to do these daily diaries. I want you to know what I am doing morning, noon, and night every day, is because unless we tell our own story, somebody else will try to tell it for us. And we're going to refuse for that to happen. I was on a call with faith leaders this week as well. Took place yesterday. Faith leaders, hundreds of them from across the country, speaking with members of the administration, the president's administration, talking about ways that the president and his team, and there are many ways that he is doing this, are protecting and advancing the freedom of the church and the religious liberty that is one of the key rights that we have in our American way of life and under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So we had a great meeting about that. Also, key conference call with some other key pro-life leaders, again in regard to garnering additional support for our work within the church. Had some meetings in regard to our donors. We're always looking for more and more ways to treat our donors well and better increase the communication we have with them. And so I had various meetings with our team about that. All of these meetings I've been telling you about really constitute a full day. I mean, like I say, I'm at my desk usually about 5:30, sometimes earlier, and up until about 10 o'clock at night. And I love it. I love it. I don't lose energy during the course of the day, and because I love serving you and this cause. Sometimes in the evening, after supper, and usually I take about 45 minutes for dinner. I usually just throw something together myself here in the cafe right in our building, or else go to one of the nearby simple restaurants. We got a good Italian place nearby, a good seafood place, a steak place. But tonight, for example, I just threw together some pasta with some sauce. And but sometimes after dinner, what I'll do is, I have to keep up on a lot of pro-life news, and I watch a lot of videos of things that are going on in the movement. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my laptop, play a particular video. Maybe it's of a pro-life convention that I wasn't at. I'll get the talks and watch what my colleagues are saying in those conventions. And while I'm doing that, I'll do two things. I'll take a whole stack of my books and see if this book doesn't have it, because this book didn't go out to you. This book is here. But when these books come out to you, they have my signature right on the front. And if people who order them request it, I'll put a personalized note. So a lot of times at night, I'll do that work while I'm listening to pro-life talk or maybe one of the rallies of the president, and I'll sign scores and scores of books, stacks and stacks of books. Then also what I do is I sign birthday cards for any of our donors whose birthdays we know. A lot of our donors have told us their birthdays through the surveys that they send in. And we like to send you, if we know your birthday, a birthday card. And so I, each night, sign some of those cards. And that's a lot of fun. And finally, this afternoon, in the late afternoon, we had a regular conference call with our pastoral team. Our pastoral team being those who are assigned full-time to our work, travel and speak on behalf of the ministry. And that includes Janet Morana, our executive director, who co-founded Silent No More, Alveda King of our Civil Rights for the Unborn, Marie Smith heads up our Parliamentary Network for Critical Issues, working with legislators around the world to end abortion, Brian Kemper of our Youth Outreach, Father Dennis Wild, our associate director, the Rachel's Vineyard team, founded by Teresa and Kevin Burke, all of these entities operating under the umbrella of Priests for Life. July 22nd, 23rd, 24th, that's what I've been doing. And that brings us up to this moment when I am speaking face-to-face with you on this broadcast, after which I'm going to go to sleep and get ready for an excellent day of progress tomorrow, every ounce of which you will hear about. So thanks for accompanying me on this journey, accompanying me in this work, supporting this work with your prayers, with your activism, with your involvement in our projects, and with your donations, which I hope you are part of this support that comes to us financially, because we rely only on you. We don't get, like Planned Parenthood, all these grants from the government. We don't get many grants from anybody. It's from you. It's from your generous support. It's from thousands and thousands of people sending in their $10 and $20 checks. ProLifeGift.org is where you can go to sign up to be one of those donors. I hope you do that even tonight. ProLifeGift.org. So friends, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for your support. Thanks for your involvement in the pro-life movement. I hope you have a restful night as well. May the Lord bless you. May He bless your families. May He answer all your prayers. May He ease you in your sorrows. May He double your joys. And may He make you effective witnesses and defenders of the youngest, the smallest children among us, the children yet in the womb. And may He bless you, Father and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father Frank Pavone here of Priests for Life. Talk to you soon.
Years ago, I got to know Father Frank on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He joined with a number of people with us. And I saw him as a very sincere, earnest young man. And I was delighted when he was my student in the seminary and he was ordained. And then I started to hear about his work with life. And I've been very pleased and amazed to stand on the side and see all that has been accomplished. There's no doubt in my mind this is a work of God, a work guided by the Holy Spirit. So I'm grateful, and I'm grateful to you for supporting this apostolate. In a way, you could say there is nothing more important than life. When there are dangerous situations, we call an ambulance. All the traffic stops. The ambulance comes to save a person's life, perhaps of a heart attack. Here we're talking about saving possibly millions of innocent unborn children. Isn't it terribly important? Isn't it a great, great significance? And so I would encourage you, please, in your generosity, help Priests for Life.